Begin this morning. How many of you, just raise your hand, how many of you are morning people? That's just a shame. How many of you are, wake up at the crack of noon, only if you have to?
I do that too.
Evening people. And that's about as opposite in life as you can get. I am married to a morning person. She gets up before 5:30 and plows 40 acres and then yells at me and asks that question, "What are you still doing in bed?" Well, it's 11:30. But on the other hand, I'm a night guy. So she is, running out of gas. Running out of gas about 8:30, The news is barely over. And she's going to bed, and I'm up, bright-eyed and 2 o'clock in the morning watching some old stupid movie on Turner Classic Network.
I hear you.
Never have we argued over more things than that. She comes out, "What are you doing? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, come to bed." And I get up in the morning, "What are you banging around? It's 7:30 in the morning, stop making noise." Life can be difficult sometimes. It's just who we are. Well, the same is true in Christianity. I'm going to tell you a story. This is an honest goodness story. Back when I was in seminary, that was 100 years ago. Well, 40 anyway. More than that. Anyway, a long time ago, back in seminary, they had what they called, and it was under the Department of Spiritual Development. You are going to be men and women leading God's people. You need spiritual development. So they encouraged groups to form and become little spiritual discipleship groups. Remember that kind of stuff back in seminary? Oh, it was a fad for a long time. And these guys were, talk about Pharisees. They were hell-bent and determined to please God. And I'm thinking, come on, guys, lighten up. "Oh, no, you got to get up at 4:30 in the morning. We start our discipleship group at, 5 o'clock. Well, why? It's because you got to tithe 10% of your day. You tithe 10% of your money. You got to tithe 10% of your day. You got to give God 2 hours and 40 minutes. So we're going to start at 5. We'll end at 7:40. I said, "You're nuts." And we're going to pray, and we're going to read, and we're going to confess all our sins to each other. And we're going to fast all day until dinner. We're not eating breakfast. We're not eating lunch. We're not driving any cars. We're walking everywhere. Every day is a tribute to God. I went like once. And I said, "Lord, really? 5 o'clock in the morning? You want me to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and give God my worst 2 hours and 40 minutes of my day? Where I'm the grumpiest? I look good, but I'm grumpy. And I'm nasty. And I really probably ought to take a shower. And that's what you want me to give to God, my worst?" I said, "Forget it, fellas. Well, at least you can miss lunch, and I like lunch." They have the chocolate milk machine. I loved that. I should have been a sailor because I know they got them too. So I just started going out. I'd get my lunch and I'd take it out and I'd sit on a bench. There was a little pond between the main education administrative building and the lunchroom. And I would sit there on the side of the pond. It had big willow trees over it. It was very pretty, actually. Little sign that we had put up that said, "Please, seniors, don't try walking on the water. It embarrasses the freshmen." And I'd sit out there every day. And every day, here comes old George Turner, Professor Turner. He's like 98 years old back then. And he would walk out there, and he'd sit on that bench. And he'd look at me and go, "Mr. Chandler, we've the privilege of gathering together again, have we?" And he'd say that every day. And one day, he came and he says, "Mr. Chandler," I said, "Mr. Turner, we have the privilege of gathering again today. You're just a smart aleck, aren't you?" Had to beat him to the draw. But we had the most incredible discussions of God and theology and, concepts, eschatology, anything and everything we discussed in a and I was wide awake because it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was delightful and it was joyful. And we always prayed at the end of it, just a little prayer. And to hear that old geezer pray, you would swear he was talking to God. And I'm going, wow, I want to be that. And it was the most delightful. And these other guys, 5 o'clock in the morning, get up, miss this, do that, do this. Stop it. When did you make God so hard, so difficult? Why can't you just sit in peace and quiet in the joy of a dear man? Talk about the greatest things and bless each other with a prayer at the end. Why can't we just have it that way? Anyway, that was a big discussion until Bob Coleman caught wind of me and goes, Chandler, I hear you don't want to be in a discipleship group. I went, oh, Lord, here it comes. The king of spiritual development. He says, well, you're going with me. And that's when I started having to go on the weekends with him to go evangelize the soldiers at Fort Knox, the tankers at Fort Knox. And it got me into that because I wasn't in a fellowship. And I said, as long as we don't leave before about 11 o'clock in the morning, I'll go with you. But they always tried to make it so hard to be in the presence of God. Naaman was a soldier, a mighty warrior, led the whole Assyrian army, eventually would destroy the country that the prophet was in to heal him. But at the time he had leprosy, they came down to Naaman. Naaman came down to Elijah and said, come out and let your God heal me. Well, he didn't come out. He sent a messenger. Surely, go out there and tell them to go wash in the river. And he went away furious. Does it ever impress you how stupid people can be when you're trying to get close to God? And he went away angry because the prophet didn't come out himself. He didn't wave his hand over him. He didn't call down the mighty fire of the Lord and heal the leprosy. He didn't ask him to go and fight a great monster or to do the 12 feats of Hercules. He just asked him to go down the street to the river and jump in 7 times. And he went away angry. But most importantly, he went away still diseased, which was a death sentence in those days. Leprosy didn't go away. You got to ask yourself, why do we make it so hard to draw near to God? But we do, don't we? We don't just do it to others like they did in seminary. We do it to ourselves. Oh, I'm not deserving. I can't go in there. God's got to talk to God. He knows you're an idiot. Come on in. 27 times Jesus either said or referred to the fact that if you come to me, I will not cast you out. Come to me on your hands and knees if you have to. Come to me in your bathrobe if you have to. But make it after 11:30 because I know he's a night person too. 27 times in the Gospels he makes reference to, let's get together at any cost, any price, any place. In fact, where 2 or more of you are gathered, I want to be part of that. But the last thing I want you to do is to make it difficult. We're going to talk about some of the barriers to being a Christian, some of the barriers to Christianity, and some of the boulevards to Christianity. What makes it easy? What makes it difficult? Talk about that in a minute. First, I want you to stand one more time.